a bill to ban ballot harvesting, and 30 great questions that maybe we should be asking people, and a little bit on signals intelligence from Great Britain and their role in the coup. And then the last thing I have is Lindsey Graham has called on changing the rule for subpoenaing people in the Senate judiciary. So stay with me, folks. I'll be right back. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and we're going to start with this bill to ban ballot harvesting. And this is put out by a guy, Representative Rodney Davis from Illinois. And for those who don't know, even though Illinois has a reputation for being Democrat, that's mostly in Chicago, and really outside of Chicago, it's predominantly Republican. So there are a lot of representatives who are Republican from Illinois. He's the ranking member of the Committee on House Administration, introduced a bill last week to ban the practice of ballot harvesting, which allows anyone to deliver unlimited numbers of mail-in ballots on others' behalf. Now, I'm not sure if you remember, but in North Carolina, there was actually an election that they disqualified, I believe, the Republican because they were using ballot harvesting, and that's illegal in North Carolina. However, in California, it's perfectly legal, and the Democrats do it all the time. But in this last election, the special election they had where the Democrats lost, now they're complaining about it because the Republicans, I think, used it to be able to get in votes. Now, if you're using it fairly, what that means is that people would be sent out to houses of maybe those who can't get in to vote, or maybe those who aren't necessarily usually voting, and they would go and pick up their ballots and say, we'll deliver it for you. Okay. But of course, for nefarious purposes, what usually happens is they get a big bunch of ballots and they do whatever they want with them. Sometimes if it's a ballot for someone on the opposing party, they might just conveniently lose them or something. And they also sometimes get ones that are marked differently than maybe what the person intended, or it just has a very high instance of fraud. And that's why they want to ban it. Now, unfortunately, this is in the House, and it would have to be passed by the majority of Democrats, and I'm just doubting that's going to happen. But here's the text of the bill if you want to go through. It's actually an amendment for the Help America Vote Act of 2002, and it prohibits payments under such act to states which permit ballot harvesting. So it would keep federal funds from those states. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And it does make an exception for, like, if somebody is the caregiver for a person, or if they're a relative or something, they would be able to take care of those ballots and deliver those to the proper authorities. Or like the mail carrier, obviously can deliver them. And election authorities could take care of it too. But it really does cause a problem with the chain of custody when you're dealing with ballots, and they really should not be in the hands of people who could just be anybody off the street, and they don't have to be licensed or certified or anything like that. It's somebody shows up at your door and says, I'll take your ballot for you. I'll deliver it properly. Yeah, don't believe them. Okay, do it yourself. Anyway, I wanted to show you this too, that in Texas, the pharmacy board loosens restrictions on hydroxychloroquine prescriptions, reversing course. It says here, they issued a new rule that no prescriptions for hydroxychloroquine or azithromycin could be dispensed without a diagnosis consistent with evidence for its use. And that was just crazy, meaning doctors, sorry, if it is not something that is official, you can't prescribe this for anyone. Well, that has been altered a little bit. They wanted doctors to tell them why they were prescribing it, like what the person had that warranted that particular prescription. And really, it's none of their business. If the doctor prescribes it, the doctor prescribes it, and that's their authority. So this was an interesting little article. I'll leave all the links to these down below, and it just is especially interesting since today President Trump said that he's been taking this for a while, and the press kind of went crazy when he said that, at least when I'm recording this, which is on Monday. So then I wanted to show you this list. This is a list of 30 questions that I think maybe we need to be asking people. Sometimes it's better, instead of arguing with people and telling them they're wrong, if you can ask them pertinent questions that get them to think for themselves and to see what's really going on. It could be something to help wake them up, because if they discover it on their own through trying to answer these questions, then all of a sudden it's like, a light goes on. And that's the teacher in me telling you that. It's always better if the students can figure it out for themselves. If you just lecture them on it, the chances are they're not going to remember near as much. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but some of the pertinent ones, why can you go to Walmart but not Kohl's? Why the dollar store and not a mom and pop shop? What makes one person essential and another not, like your job? If you're doing your job to feed your family and to feed yourself, to pay your rent, whatever the case is, pay your bills and survive, that's essential. So how can somebody come in and say, well, that's not essential? So there's just a lot of these that are very good questions. And again, I'll leave the link down below. This is on Vote, though. It may be something where you'd have to get an account to be able to see it. And the accounts are free, so you could just get one. But I really want the answer to this one. Why did Obama give the Wuhan lab $334 million? And so anyway, this one right here, why are they infringing on Christian religious freedoms? We're going to talk about in my next video. I'll leave the link to that down below, and you can go through the list on your own. This one I thought was a very interesting little piece here. This police officer from Ohio went through the oath that he swore, and he said, this is what the oath means, and we've got to be very careful about protecting that Constitution. And right now, we're seeing a lot of constitutional rights being violated. So I thought this was a really good piece. It's only about 5 minutes long, so I'll leave the link down below. You can go watch it. It's worth watching. Okay, then let's talk about this. This is a document that I picked up off of the research board. I don't know when. It's been a while since I got it, and I wasn't really documenting things as well then. And I have like files and files and files of stuff I picked up over the last couple years. So I'm not sure exactly when this was, but I did put it on Twitter. I'll leave the link to it down below. It's kind of a weird Twitter type thing, but let me show you a little bigger here, if I can. Okay, and it talks about this signals intelligence, and this is for UK. The guy up here, Robert Hannigan, is the director, or was. I don't think he is anymore. I can't remember, but anyway, and he wrote this letter on November 17th of 2016, and he wrote it to Boris Johnson. So I think this is really significant here, and it's an application for renewal of warrant, this number here, to surveil 725 Fifth Avenue, New York, USA, 5th and 26th floors. Now, does anyone happen to know what's at 725 Fifth Avenue? Guess what? Trump Tower. Yep. And so on August, just a bit more there, on August 28th of 2016, now who was president then? Okay, that was Obama, right? GCHQ, CSO, and that's like the British signals intelligence there, for permission to execute Project Folsom at the request of the U.S. president. Obama. Seeking intelligence gathering into the Trump Organization and Donald J. Trump for President, Inc., both located at 725 Fifth Avenue. Activities include foreign and U.S. domestic signals collection in regards to communications with Russian hostile actors. So we know for sure from this document that they were doing this. And IOCCO approved Folsom on September 15th of 2016, allowing 90 days of initial signals intelligence gathering with the potential for renewal should the situation allow. This memo's purpose is to request a 90-day renewal of Folsom's original charter, with further potential for renewal thereafter. Since Folsom's start, a clear pattern of actionable leads have accrued, both from the Trump campaign itself, from former MI5 agent Michael Steele. And I thought that was kind of strange. Michael, is he like related to Christopher Steele? Or is this the name Christopher Steele uses or used when he was an MI5 agent? And from others. See figure 1 to 7 in attachment. I don't have the attachment. U.S. National Security Advisor Rice has requested that we continue our surveillance during the transition period as internal U.S. intelligence is potentially compromised by the incoming Trump administration. See, the lies were perpetuated in this document. You can see it. Now, don't you think that probably Boris Johnson and President Trump have discussed this? I'll bet you anything. And so they're asking for a renewal of it, and it's signed by Robert Hannigan. So there we have it, folks. We know for sure that they were involved in this, and I'll leave the link to that down below so you can share it. All right. This is a tweet from Henry Rogers that came out today. Now, he is the senior congressional correspondent from the Daily Caller, and he says, Lindsey Graham's subpoena authorization covers a number of documents, communications, and testimony from witnesses, including James Comey, Andrew McCabe, James Clapper, John Brennan, Sally Yates, and others. Let me show you what the researchers have said on this, because they posted the tweet. This is what they like to do, is get a screen cap of the tweet, and then they make comments on it. And in this one, they copied everything, but they also copied this. So, Chairman Graham announces committee to consider subpoena authorization related to oversight of FISA process Crossfire Hurricane investigation. Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham today announced that the committee would debate and vote on a subpoena authorization related to the FISA abuse investigation and oversight of the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. Graham's subpoena authorization covers a number of documents, communications, and testimony from witnesses, including James Comey, Andrew McCabe, James Clapper, John Brennan, Sally Yates, and others. The subpoena authorization will be first listed on the agenda for the committee's executive business meeting on May 21st, 2020. The committee is expected to vote on the subpoena authorization at its June 4th, 2020 executive business meeting. Background on Senate Judiciary Committee subpoena authorizations. Under Senate Judiciary Committee rules, the chairman cannot unilaterally issue a subpoena. The chairman can only issue a subpoena with the consent of the ranking member or by a committee vote. So this is different than it is in the House. In the House, I think the chairman can just go off and do whatever he wants, which is kind of a scary thing. If approved by a majority of the committee, the subpoena authorization gives the chairman the ability to issue a subpoena for witnesses, documents, or other materials. Subpoena authorization votes in the Senate Judiciary Committee are not common. Chairman Graham will use the precedent set by Chairman Leahy as a guideline for this subpoena authorization vote. On September 25, 2008, the committee authorized subpoenas by party line vote. So there is a precedent for it to happen, but we're going to see what happens on that. But anyway, that's the document there that was in that tweet. Well, if you go up here then and you go to this one, you get a researcher who is skilled in the law who wants to remind us all of something that happened when Lindsey Graham questioned Kavanaugh. And I don't know if you recall that, but there was a situation, and I'm going to include the video on this, where Lindsey Graham asked Kavanaugh if he understood the difference between military law and criminal law, that if there were people that were working with the enemy, could they be tried as enemy combatants, even if they were civilians? And he said yes. So that was one thing that you need to know. And the link to that actually will be in this. This has several links here that you can follow. But essentially, this guy says, I have heard all day from people that there will be no justice for Hussein and Biden. Not so fast. I remind you all of what the 17th letter of the alphabet said the day Lindsey Graham questioned Kavanaugh about enemy combatants. We can try enemy combatants by military tribunal. In the Hamdi case, it was a U.S. citizen involved with being charged with being an enemy combatant in Afghanistan, Long story short, Daddy wanted his kid tried in federal court. Read the case, too long to discuss. And there's the link so you can go and you can see about that. Graham asked Kavanaugh about enemy combatants and if you can be a U.S. citizen and be tried in military court. And then there's the link to a discussion about that. And the 17th letter of the alphabet posted the same day of that questioning of Kavanaugh by Graham. And I'm going to show you the picture in just a minute, which is an excerpt of above article showing his post. So I would say we are going to see this whole pile of you-know-what regarding traitors Biden and Hussein are all going to be played out in a military tribunal at Gitmo. The military will pick up their butts and store them in Gitmo until their trial. Pass the popcorn. We don't need Barr or Durham to handle these traitors. And I will make a disclaimer, I never was in the JAG or practiced military law, but this is how I see things played out. Check this out, okay? This was the post on that day, 2093 there, and this is what he said. But check this part of it out. Lindsey Graham has a JD from the University of South Carolina, okay, so he's a lawyer. Before he entered politics, he was a U.S. Air Force officer and JAG. I guess I'd known that, but I'd forgotten it. So he was military. He does understand that, and that's why he was asking those questions. So he says here too, it is noteworthy that of all the constitutional rights to which Americans are entitled, Senator Graham specifically mentioned the Fourth Amendment, which prohibits unreasonable searches and seizures and requires, quote, reasonable governmental searches and seizures to be conducted only upon issuance of a warrant, judicially sanctioned by probable cause. On December 21st, 2017, President Trump signed an executive order blocking the property of persons involved in, quote, serious human rights abuse or corruption. So, just a reminder on all of that. That's what we're dealing with. And then here is the video. This is the link to the video here, this video. So I'll just leave it in this entire thing since you've got it all together here. And here's the exact quotes of what he said. So the bottom line is, on every American citizen, no, you have constitutional rights, but you do not have a constitutional right to collaborate with the enemy. So I just thought it was very interesting that that was being pointed out today. I think it's something that we need to be aware of. All right, so I'm going to leave all the links to these down below, and you can go through them on your own and check them out. And if you really want to help out in the fight about all this, remember, if you're on Twitter, you need to be using the hashtag Obamagate as much as you can. It's been trending quite a bit. I think it trended for a while, and then they kind of cut it down and stopped it from being on the trending list. But it's still going, and we need to make sure it keeps going. And if you need some memes, 900 plus, right here is the link that will take you to them. So, well, it takes you to an article like this, and then you can find the link there. So, for those of you who heard AG Barr say that he didn't see right now that Obama and Biden were going to be part of this investigation, remember, he said he hadn't seen it yet. Okay? That doesn't mean he's not going to see evidence in the very near future. So hang in there, folks. It's going to be happening, whether it happens in criminal courts or it happens in the military courts. It will happen. So keep your nose in the news, because more and more is coming out all the time. So that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.